Hey everybody, this is Mad Matt Carter. Thank you so much for watching the AIWF Network YouTube channel as well as the AIWF Ringside Wrestling channel. If you like what you see, please do us a big favor. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that bell to get notifications every time we post new videos on both our channels. It means a lot to us, and thanks a lot for watching once again.
Welcome back, everybody, to Pro Wrestling Wire. This is Rick Del Santo, as always. I have Uncle Otis with me, but we have a very special guest today. Pure Vanguard Wrestling is a new promotion on the block. They've run one show, got another show coming up October 12th. We've got promoter Doc Warren in the studio. What's going on?
Hell of a lot's going on. We're looking forward to October 12th. We're coming back to I want to say our new old home. I'm a Bristol boy, born and raised. We enjoyed our time in Manchester, but we found that there was a building available, and we had to move over.
Yeah, that's a great building. Actually, the Manchester building, I really liked the two times I was there. It's a beautiful building, but that Bristol Boys and Girls Club, the one you're referring to me, that speaks wrestling. I mean, it looks like something that you would have wrestling in. It's just a really nice gymnasium. I'd like to see I'd like to see that you guys, succeed in there and draw.
Absolutely. And they have a bedrock of wrestling in there. Like there was a wrestling tournament there this past weekend.
Oh wow!
For the little guys, it's the Gladiators. If you're into amateur wrestling, please do follow. I think they're the Bristol Gladiators. I just know them as the Gladiators. But it's a good building. The Manchester building was absolutely beautiful. It was the look that we were looking for. Unfortunately, we found out that there's management issues, and the venue has since closed down.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we had scheduled to do a dozen or more shows, and we got a call at the last minute. So another promotion I help out with. You may have seen their last event was outside, and that's because the building had been shut down by the town.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
wow,
it was
a shame.
It was a first for me, boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Otis, do you have anything you want to kick in right now?
Well, I'm looking at the card right now, and I know we're going to go over that and talk about some of the matches that you've got here. Because I see some outstanding talent on here. I'm starting to get chills just looking at it, and I am very excited that you're back into the Bristol Boys and Girls Club over there, because that venue is enormous. It's beautiful. The seating is that I have a kind of a bad back, and they've got those molded bleachers that kind of are molded to your backside.
Yes,
so to speak.
That's definitely
so much more
wrong.
Comfortable. Yeah, a lot better than the flat board bleachers, So that's really cool. And it's just, I think I'm just very excited. This is going to be my first time, at one of your Vanguard events. This is going to be your second or third one?
This is just the second show officially under the Vanguard label. We've done some other shows, but they were off label to test the waters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I didn't get to see your inaugural show, I guess we'll call it. But I'm like wicked excited about this one. I had texted you the other day, and I was like, "You mind if I come and work this? Because I'm like really wanting to check this out and kind of do some stuff for Doc, because Doc, you are a very, very busy man, not just with your promotion, but with just everyday stuff. We're friends on social media as is with Rick, and we see you doing all kinds of projects. So,
I try. I dedicated my life to charity at a young age, and so a lot of the stuff that you see here, I've had people think that I'm rich. There's a few reasons for that, I think, because they hear that you're a doctor. So, oh, all doctors are rich. Well, not the ones that dedicate their life to charity. And then the funniest thing that I hear is now I happen to be Warren Corson III. That's my real name. And they hear third, and I guess they think of Gilligan's Island and Thurston Howell the third or something. So I must be rich. And I'm like, no, it just meant my parents weren't necessarily inventive, so they just named me after my dad. You know, my granddad had no money, my dad had no money, so I have no money. You know, but then of course my son is the fourth, so he's got to be super rich, and it's like not so much. You know, but I'd like to say that I'm known to be tight with my money. I will squeeze a penny so tight that Lincoln begs to go to the theater. But I also, when I see a good investment, I jump at it. You know, so I am good with my money. I try to be, and we've been blessed. I know I'm going a little off topic, but you mentioned the talent. I've had somebody recently give me credit for putting together one heck of a show. And I appreciate the sentiment. There is a booking committee that actually helps set up the talent, but we've been so blessed that from the day that I announced that we were going to open Pure Vanguard, that some top talent from all over New England and beyond has contacted me. So somebody asked me how hard it is to claw your way and to get talent to talk to you, and I go, I don't know. Most of the people emailed me, you know, and I don't have a good answer for why they did that. You know, it's not because I'm something special. It's that for some reason they got behind what we were doing even before we were doing it. Right. So I hope it continues.
Cool. Well, I know that, you know, I messaged you last week. I think we had a conversation prior to that about, you know, another company you had worked with, but I was noticed that on your Pure Vanguard, excuse me, tongue tied a little bit, on your Pure Vanguard flyer, you said that you know, catch can wrestling, which implies that you are running a very old school type product. And I was like, I messaged you because I was like, I really love the idea of this, because I myself am a very old school and traditional style wrestling fan. I go crazy of a lot of modern product because it drives me nuts. It drives away from what I feel professional wrestling is, and that you were
hot,
and it seemed like
BS.
What's that? Yeah.
Sorry, they call it the hot indie BS, where you've got 15 high spots in a match, and the guy still loses.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it to me just insults your intelligence.
Yeah, and there's no, you know, in my opinion, and I've had this discussion on this show many, many times with various guests, that less is more, and that's what drives the drama in professional wrestling. You know what I mean? And drives the crowd into reacting, I feel. So I messaged you saying that I was like, I really like the sound of this, and I really feel that this is going to be something good. So and the card was released, I think, shortly before that, or maybe right after that, but it looks like a stellar card.
We've been blessed. And what happened was, you know, there are a lot of rumors out there. I've heard things that I have heat with different promotions because I had helped out with promotions and I had started my own. The reality is, for me, I have heat with absolutely zero promotions. There's some promoters I get along with better than others, but that's life. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with any of the promotions that I've helped out on the shows. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with the promoters or the people. It was that I was looking at what drew me into wrestling, and my real world is that I'm big in psychology. So I missed the old mat-based wrestling. You know, you could go to the top rope when it makes sense, but I missed the WCCW, you know, World Class Championship Wrestling. I missed the old NWA days. I missed the time where, you know, you kind of knew if a guy was a good guy or a bad guy, and sometimes they would swerve you, you know, and I also missed that sometimes you had that character that was kind of gray, you know. You didn't know if he was good or not, but you just knew that you enjoyed watching them in the ring. And what I didn't enjoy was to see somebody that was basically a gymnast, and that's all they did was act like a gymnast. Now, I like high flyers, and that's where people get confused sometimes. I'm not against people jumping off the top rope. I'm not against somebody doing, some high spots, but it needs to make sense,
When I was younger, to me, I always thought that a high flyer was a guy that maybe did a flying drop kick or
Yes.
a cross body off the rope. It wasn't doing 30 flips and before landing on your opponent and then the opponent still kicks out. Just saying.
Absolutely. So I don't know if you've ever been into a street fight, but so my background is a little different than some. I am not a classically trained pro wrestler. I have had some classes from some very talented people. It's been, I'm not going to name drop, but I remember one time getting chills because I'm like, I watched this guy on TV and now he's showing me how to lock up. And professional wrestling has a certain way of doing things. And it's different from my background. My background was a little bit more street fighter. It was, we went in there and the goal was twofold. And I probably shouldn't say this on a family show, but one was not to get arrested, because nobody wants to get arrested for assault. So there's kind of an agreement that if the cops come, we agree that this is sportsmanship. But the other thing was, you don't lose, and you followed certain rules. And this is one as a commissioner on this promotion, I tell the guys, do what you need to do to win, but you have to do it with honor. So when I was doing some street fighting back in the day before I became a doctor, we didn't use weapons, but we used our bodies. And you would twist and you would contort. And so when we talk about catch as catch can, anything goes within reason with honor. However, it needs to look and feel and be real. So if I see somebody doing, 3 somersaults, I think back to the days when I was in the street. You know what happened to the guys that did 3 somersaults when they went to tackle you? By the time they reached you, you put them down. I can remember, remember those flying roundhouse kicks that were very popular back in the day in martial arts?
Yeah.
I probably have the teeth in my mouth that I do because of those roundhouse kicks, because they were so easily, they telegraphed what they were going to do. They would start to move their body a little bit and you just knew, okay, it's time to step back. And what my signature became back then when before professional wrestling was I would catch their feet with my hand. And then I would push them forward, pull them back a little bit. And I would do like a javelin kind of throw with their legs. And it was fun to watch them fly. And so when we were starting a promotion, I said, I don't want to be insulted. I want it to look and feel and be real. I want these guys to yes, there's a certain amount of you gotta entertain the crowd. So there's going to be a certain amount that you sell things. And when I did some street wrestling back in the day, street fighting, whatever we want to call it, I called it fun. There was a certain amount that we would, I would definitely get the crowd going a little bit. Maybe I would let the guy feel like he was a little bit further ahead with me than he really was. And then when I thought it was right, I would reverse it and he would we used most of the stuff we were doing it on cement. We were doing it on blacktop. Sometimes it was dirt. That was nice because you were less
Softer
likely to
landing.
make stitches.
Yeah.
But as I told one guy who was doing his thing, he complained later about the injuries he sustained from the blacktop. And I said, well, if you didn't spend so much time on your back, you wouldn't have to worry. So I guess I was one of the old school trash talkers, only we didn't have a ring back then.
Tell me, how did you get interested in professional wrestling as a whole? Like when you were a kid or whatnot? I know you just mentioned WCCW. One of my favorite promotions of all time. I still go back and watch video constantly. World Class and of course the old NWA, Mid Atlantic, stuff like that.
Yeah. So even though I grew up in the heart of McMahon country, and I have met the McMahons on certain occasions over the years. I was a Mid-South guy. I was a World Class Championship wrestling guy. That was, to me, that was what wrestling personified. And the duty, the honor, that you see with the Von Erichs. They didn't necessarily always live it off the stage, You know,
Right.
like anybody else, we all have our demons, but they always tried to put on a certain type of show. And so I love that. I got out of wrestling for a while. I wanted, actually, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. And I had a series of health issues that prevented that. When I was young, at one point, they thought I had leukemia. Thankfully, it was not. It was a different illness that was more easily treated. I trained hard to be a wrestler as a teen. I was into natural bodybuilding. And unfortunately, at some point, I don't know if it's going to show up, but I've got a scar from here that goes down. And while I was surrounded by some guys that were on Anabol and all kinds of different kinds of steroids, I was Mr. Natural. I was growing, I was getting really big and strong. Mr. Natural ends up being the guy that gets the tumors, not the guys that were plastic men. So that kind of killed the dream for a while. And those of us that are a little bit older, we remember that the way the independents used to work, they kind of acted like they owned you. And if they hired you and they wanted you to be in Maine on Friday and New Jersey on Saturday and someplace else on Sunday, you were going to do that. And so I had a son. I got married. I was just finishing up my college, first person in my family to go to college. I was just finishing up undergrad, going into grad school, and I talked my way into a tryout for one of the major indie promotions. And it broke down because I said, use me when you're in the area, use me when I'm not in class. And the guy said, and I'll never forget it, he goes, if we're going to push you, you're going to be where I want you, when I want you, and for as often as I want you. Not an exact quote, but that was as close as possible. And I said, dude, I start graduate school in like 2 months. And he said, you need to check your priorities. Well, indie wrestling wasn't going to feed my family, but getting my doctorate probably would. So I did that. And now it's been years I've had my doctorate. I've established a charity from scratch. We're doing well. And a few years ago, I said, it's time. I paid my dues outside of the ring. Now it's time to get back involved with wrestling. And I did, I had communications with WWF over the years, not as any kind of paid staff member, but I'm blessed to have some friends that I could call up right now. And back before they sold to the big dogs, it was nice to be able to send an email and say, hey, can I get a couple cases of shirts for my clients? And they'd go, absolutely. And then they would send me shirts, and clients would sometimes go, how the hell does my doctor do that? It's like, well, because I know people, never was on screen for them, but I worked with several other people over the years.
Jimmy Valiant, Boogie Woogie, legendary Boogie Woogie. Wait a minute, baby. Wait a minute. Hang on. What are you doing around
Who was that calling you, buddy? This is our neighborhood.
You done made a mistake.
You should be retired, Boogie.
Wait a minute, boys. Let me take a bite of my king dog.
You say king dog?
King dog?
Is that what he said?
What? What happened? Come on, boy.
Don't let hunger bully you. Get yourself a king dog and you too can become a super hunger fighter.
Right. So tell me about so I'm guessing that's through your charity?
To my charity, yes.
through your charity? So
there-
Tell us
In-
about
in
the
the-
charity.
Yeah.
So I usually refer to it as Vanguard Ranch in the wrestling
Right.
world, but
Right.
you guys are friends of mine. I'm sure a lot of people that are going to watch the show know me in the real world anyway. It's called Puyallup Therapeutic Farm, and it's in Wolcott, Connecticut. We've got somewhere between 50 and 52 acres of land, depending on what deeds you look at, what paperwork you read. And we treat people of all ages on an outpatient basis. And we have a couple of shops. We have a mechanic shop, we have a metal shop, we have a wood shop, and we have a sawmill. Some of the furniture in the building I've personally taken from tree on our property. That's what, there's an oak tree that was knocked down in a storm, and dragged it out of the woods, put it on the sawmill, milled it into lumber, took the lumber, made it into furniture.
That's amazing. Wow.
So we do what we can for all ages, and I'm blessed to have one heck of a team of talented clinicians that work with me, I should say. And we have a support staff that, bar none, we've been truly blessed.
Well,
Maybe he
Notice, yeah.
could, I don't know, drop a website, a link or something, or tell the people an email address or something if they wanted a contact where they can help out, or if they
Absolutely,
needed to reach out.
The easiest one to remember is docwarren.org, DOCWARREN.org.
There you
All
go,
right.
people. Thank you.
There you
And
go.
useless trivia. I was called Doc. My nickname was Doc before I had a doctorate. It was a nickname that people gave me because at an early age, as a teenager, actually, I had people that would come up to me, even bosses would come up to me looking for advice, looking for guidance on all kinds of topics. And before the world of Google, when you had to actually know stuff, I had a very wide berth of knowledge. And so somebody at one point would say, oh, you got to go talk to the doc, and meanwhile they're looking at, I was either late teens or early 20s. And I'm very concerned with ethics because I was in college at that point. And I said, well, not a doctor, just studying psychology, and they just said, no, you're the doc. So very few people actually ever call me by my birth name.
So all this time that I've known you, I did not know that. I thought that was just your nickname, to be honest with you. That's it.
Yeah. No, so Doc, Doc was my nickname. And then as a doctor, I would walk into the room the first time to see, I prefer to call them clients, not patients.
Right.
I would say, Dr. Warren Course III, nice to meet you. And they would go, hey, what do I call you? I don't care. And then a lot of them call me Dr. Corson. I said, you know what? No, I don't like that. I said, my name's Warren. And some people said, I don't want to call you Warren because it doesn't seem respectful. And then, clients started calling me Doc Warren. And I'm thinking, wow, so people in my home life are calling me Doc is a nickname. Now I've got my clients calling me Doc. And so I guess that's who the hell I am.
Right.
Rick's really a professor.
Are you?
That's the nickname. That's my nickname.
Nice.
They call me the
we have that in
professor.
common because before I was the doc, I was professor.
Oh, wow. They call me
Love
the
it.
professor of professional wrestling because of my historical knowledge. Actually, Don Kincaid started that, and it's stuck.
Yeah.
So thank you, Don. It's been years now since he's called me that. And,
You gotta love that guy. And by the way,
oh,
this is spring water. This is not. I'm not drinking wine.
Well, I know I work a part-time job in a grocery store, so I knew what it was. I was like, I thought at first it was wine, then I was like, oh, that's that spring water. So
Yeah, I've had people think that I was drinking wine. In fact, I've had a few clients over the years like, "Way to go, Doc!" And I'm like, what? They go, 10 o'clock in the morning, and you're already hitting the wine right out of the bottle.
Yeah, this Jack Daniel bottle here I have, that's not really Jack Daniels in it. That's,
Sure.
That's
Oh,
iced
yeah.
tea.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So so what else, Otis? Do you have anything before we move on?
I'm just waiting to start talking about this card because there's
Yeah.
quite a few people on there. I'm sure you already know, Rick, but there's folks on here that I haven't heard of before. Well, I've heard of them, but haven't seen them in action. Like the great Brad Hollister.
Brad Hollister is a name. He's been around for quite some time. Former
Yeah.
Northeast champion, Wrestling Open champion. He's been everywhere. That dude's a beast. And taking on Marcos, who's the former Test of Strength champion too. That should be quite the interesting contest.
It should. I'm just wondering how much interference we might have to deal with.
You gotta watch Honest Abe.
Uh,
I mean, not so honest, I guess we could say.
Yeah, not so honest, Abe. You know, I talked about squeezing the penny until Lincoln begs. Well, I may be squeezing Abe's head if he interferes again, because
better
in the
watch
last
out.
time that he was on one of my shows, you know, I can't be everywhere as commissioner, so I happen to be backstage talking to the people that are coming out next, and suddenly I hear the match is over, and he uses cane on the guy.
Shady character.
It's not over yet. I've had a nice little conversation with Mr. Honest Abe, and if he uses that cane again on one of my shows, he may lose it, or I might just relocate where it's being stored.
I was gonna say.
So if you see a limp, if he uses that cane again and you don't see the cane but you see a limp, you can guess where I put it.
You have the young boy taking on Mike Mistretta. I'm not familiar with him, I don't think. But I am familiar with the young boy. But is he? He must be somebody. Go ahead.
I think he's mostly out of Massachusetts.
Okay.
I could be wrong because I am geographically challenged sometimes, but I've seen him work. He was available. I absolutely wanted him. You know, to be on there. So you should be seeing. There's going to be a little bit of a size difference based on my memory. I haven't seen them both side by side, but it should be action packed. And if it continues to be the first show of the night, they will likely set a pace that will keep everybody busy.
Yeah, young boy is he's quite a talent. He really is, and he's not a very big guy. He's maybe 5'7" or 8. He's not very tall.
Is he that tall? I'm
I
just
think
saying.
well, I'm 5'5", and I know he's taller than me, so he's got to be at least 5'7" or so.
I think my jacket weighs more than him.
But he's unreal in the ring.
He absolutely is incredible. And if this guy was 250 pounds, he probably would be in WWE. He'd be in AEW, wherever, and he would be an absolute monster. What he has going against him is that almost everybody, including the referees, are bigger than he is. But he has a move set that very few people could ever hope to have. I know in my best day, I couldn't do half the moves that he does, you know. And so when I first was scouting talent, you know, I did make a comment, and this is probably going to get some people not to like me, but I said, I don't want tiny people. You know, if we're going to have champions, we need to have people that look like champions. We need them to be big. We need them to be strong, not steroid bound, not that kind of stuff. You know, not look like they're going to have a heart attack tomorrow kind of people, but just good sized people. And then I see young boy, and I go, he's the exception.
Yep.
Kind of like Rey Mysterio was.
You got to have a junior heavyweight division or something to that effect.
Absolutely. So now, and I'm glad that you said that, because now I'm hoping like we are scouting more and more talent. And if we get enough young boys out there, instead of having just the one title that, you know, that's like the heavyweight title, I want to have a junior division if I have enough people. You know, it can't be 3 people that keep wrestling each other day in and day out.
Well, one of the guys that we spoke about off air, Pretty Poppy, he would probably fit in that category, I believe, as well. And I think that
he might. He's at the upper end of you know, the lightweight, but absolutely
that dude could wrestle too. Speaking of which, Pretty Chill, that's Pretty Poppy and Hippie Dicky Moon taking on the Stepdads, which that should be quite the interesting. There's definitely a clash of styles right there as far as how these guys wrestle.
Absolutely. It should be a phenomenal match. I actually broke a rule a little bit of mine. maybe it's not a rule, but guideline, whatever you want to call it. I actually reached out to the stepdads. Most of the people that are on our roster have contacted me or somebody on the booking committee. I knew the stepdads. I knew their work. I watched them in a show, and I reached out to them at some point and said, "Hey, if you're available on a date that we are you interested in Vanguard?" And they were very excited to go on. And I said, "Okay, here's the head booker. Here's the head guy that on the booking committee. You're going to contact them, and you're going to tell them I sent you, and whatever dates work out." So we're really happy to get them. And then Pretty Chill, as far as I know, Pretty Chill debuted at our first Vanguard show. That was their first time matching up, at least with that name.
Right.
And again, I'm going to sound like I'm flip-flopping, but I talked about liking the bigger guys. One of the first indie guys that I met when I got back into wrestling was Hippie Dickie Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, when you see him not in the ring, I'm like, wow, like he's up to my navel. I'm exaggerating, but he's a small guy. And I remember at one point, he wanted one of our shirts, and I had to apologize. I didn't have a shirt small enough for him. So I said, I promise you, the next batch, give me your size. The next batch, I will make sure I have some. And I did. So he's a small guy, but I think he would go against King Kong if you wanted him to. And I don't know that he would beat King Kong, but he would put on a good show, and he would show heart.
Right.
So absolutely excited. And then, Pretty Poppy, I've known him for years. And, to see him in the ring is exciting. I do want to tease him at some point because he's got this thing where once in a while he'll flex his chest muscles. And I'm just like, what's that all about, dude? Like, if you want to impress me, show me what you can do on the mat. And then he does show me what he can do on the mat. So if that's what Pretty Poppy has to do, if he has to bounce his chest a little bit, if he has to pass out a flower because he needs to be Joe Stud, I'm fine with it because what they offer in the ring.
Secondhand Heroes and Home for Wayward Villains is a comic book shop and gaming store that also features Magic the Gathering and D&D. Located at 18184 Leesville Road in Evington, Virginia, Secondhand Heroes is your one-stop shop for you to get your nerd on. Open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. They don't close until the dice stop rolling. They buy, sell, trade, barter, and haggle, specializing in collectible toys, both vintage and modern, comics, Magic the Gathering, video games, console, and arcade cabinets to play, all set to free play. Host your game night with us. Monday night D&D video game competitions, and so much more. Something for the collector and gamer in us all. Call 434-317-0121 or shoot us an email with any questions to secondhandheroesva@gmail.com. Note, secondhandheroesva@gmail.com. That's 2ND, handheroesva@gmail.com. Come game with us.
We got Ryan Frost and taking on the legend Bull Dread, two very good friends of mine. We just had Ryan Frost on the show this past weekend as well.
Yes.
And Ryan, I mean, both guys are awesome. I talk to Dread on a basically a daily basis. He's quite the wealth of knowledge in professional wrestling, especially in this area.
This match troubles me. There are two people that are legends in my mind. They're two people that I have the ultimate respect for. But and it's not on the poster, but this is a championship match.
Mm-hmm.
This is for the Break the Change Championship. So they might be friendly in real life. I don't know. I know they respect each other. But when they step into that ring, it's not going to be pretty. Both of them want to walk out with that strap. Because the Break the Change Championship, I don't know if you're aware of it, the Break the Change Championship is more than just a wrestling belt. That actually stems from my work in mental health. Correct. That's where it originated from. So it's about breaking cycles. It's about overcoming the odds. Both of those guys, as a commissioner, whoever wins, wins. And I'm going to respect that. But I'll tell you, whoever wins will have a good champion. Because break the chains. Doesn't matter if you're a heel. It doesn't matter if you're a face. Doesn't matter, good guy, bad guy, whatever words we want to use. You need to have heart. You need to have determination, and you need to have a backstory. And both of those people have overcome some big odds. And I know I'm probably talking too much, but I'm excited for a whole card. But when we were able to put that together, I got goosebumps. Because I've been a fan of theirs for years, and to be able to get in my mind, two legends in the ring for the belt that I sketched out as a design that was going to be used in my office as part of my Choose to Be a Champion program that I've been doing since the 90s. It started off, this was something I was going to use with clients, and now we've got some of the best people contending for it.
Yeah. This is and I hate to say this, I don't like to play favorites, but one of my favorite current wrestlers in the world, Red Sawyer, taking on Jiggy Sosa. Red Sawyer is a maniac. He reminds me of Bruiser Brody or something to that effect. He's just wild and going out there. He doesn't have the size of Bruiser Brody, but he definitely has the antics and going out there and annihilating people. Doesn't always work in his favor. Jiggy Sosa is a great high flyer, luchador type wrestler. Does a lot of the head scissors and stuff and dives. Very good for what he does. He's been doing this a long time as well. So I got to see. I can't go with who I think is going to win this one because it's really up in the air. It's just going to be however one of them can use their particular style to defeat the other.
Now, again, as a commissioner, I'm supposed to be neutral. I have the ultimate respect for both of them. As a Law and Order guy, I'm not supposed to like Red Sawyer. He's a loose cannon. He's like almost everything that we talk about. Don't be this guy. But I will tell you, when I was scouting people a couple years ago, when he was just cutting his teeth, I remember walking up to him after the show, going backstage. Thankfully, the promoter let me back there, and I told him, I said, "You have it." I don't know exactly what it is, but you have it.
He has it. Exactly. That's exactly.
And so I may not respect his views on a lot of things. I may not respect his conspiracy theories. I may not respect, the whole birds aren't real thing. In fact, for his birthday, I sent him a picture of flying birds. True story. And, but in Vanguard, the rule is not that I have to like, or that the booking committee has to like somebody or agree with their philosophies. It's, are they a good wrestler? Are they entertaining? Do they do a good job? Are they relatively safe? Safe from a perspective that they're not going to purposely cause injury. But he's definitely a loose cannon. Definitely gonna make this, it's gonna be interesting to see the lunatic versus the luchador. I don't have money on anybody because if Red keeps his head in the game, I think he's virtually unstoppable. Same thing with Jiggy, but Jiggy, I think, is better at keeping his head in the game. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And of course, we got Randy Shawn and Steven Stetson. Stetson, I haven't seen in quite some time around these parts. I think I've seen him on Wrestling Open, and he's become a staple up there. Randy Shawn is a legend in the area. He truly is. He spent a long time wrestling. He's wrestled. He's there over the head instructor at the Team 3D Academy up in the Danbury area. So
I can respect his work. I can respect him as a legend for sure. I don't respect his attitude. I don't respect the fact that he would not shake hands when he lost the match against Frost for the championship. I thought that was very disrespectful. However, like I said, we don't have to like the people that have him in the ring.
right.
I respect his abilities, and bar none, any day, anytime, he could beat anybody.
Yeah.
If he ever requests a rematch against Frost for the title, he could very well walk away with it.
Mhm.
And as commissioner, I would not interfere with that. Again, you don't have to be a nice guy to carry the break the chains. I know his story, his backstory. He has overcome stuff. Even though I don't like his attitude, he is a champion. Steven Stetson, what can I say? He wears a Stetson. He doesn't wear the Resistol. You know,
Right.
he wears the black hat. He doesn't wear the white hat. Clearly, there's a lot I don't have in common with this guy.
Right.
You know, I think he has a New Jersey ranch.
They have ranches in New Jersey.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said they have ranches in New Jersey.
Apparently so. I know they have a lot of farms because I bought antiques from some of them. But I'm biased to New England farming. Frankly, that's where my ranch is. But I think we're gonna win by seeing a good match.
Yeah.
As far as people I'd want to shake hands with, nobody in that match.
Wow.
But I will say this though, I do respect their abilities because both of them can win at any time. And I think if they had an attitude adjustment, both of them could be true Vanguard champions. But right now they just like to be, they like to cheap shots, and we're not big on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is October 12th, as said. Let's see, let me bring it back up. I just lost it. At the Bristol Boys and Girls Club, and it is let's see, the address was
255 West Street.
Wow,
Bristol.
you're on top of it. Wow.
And
Wow. And what are the ticket prices? Do you know? Do you have that information?
I
$20
do,
for general admission.
Okay.
And ringside is 25.
Okay, there you go. That's good.
We're trying to keep the ticket prices as low as we can.
Mhm.
And again, you can go to Linktree and it's PVW World. PVW World, and we do have another match. I don't know if you're all aware of it because it did not make our poster because we just signed it after
I
the
did
poster
not.
was printed. So we have
Is this the one that
NWA
you had
Superstar.
texted me about?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, we have NWA Superstar Wrecking Ball. We'll see not one but two opponents that night. He will be going in a tag team format against, and I'm going to apologize to these guys right away because I'm probably going to pronounce their names wrong because I basically have seen them spelled, but I haven't heard them pronounced. We have Sylvan, which
Yep,
is
that's right.
the man of the woods. I absolutely love his technique. Again, he happens to be a negative guy at times, but I respect his work. And then we have Jeremy LaCroix.
Yep.
And
Jeremy Lacroix. Yep. He's coming up on the
so
Yeah, you weren't far off. But he's coming up on the show this coming weekend, so
Yeah.
we're looking forward to talking to him. He just made his Coliseum Pro Wrestling debut this past weekend for us.
that's awesome. I had no idea he was going to be on the show.
Yeah, well, neither did I until I showed up. So it was never advertised. I guess they snuck in another match for us as we were short one match. Him and Lou Jacobs met, and Jeremy, as great of a wrestler as he can be, his techniques are a little strange. He likes to get dirty a little bit. He has a great amateur experience, however, doesn't use that all the time. But he came up on the losing end to Lou Jacobs, the 20-plus year vet. So,
And they're going to be in a tough space because even though there's two of them against one guy, this guy is as big as my house.
Mm.
And remember, they're not going to be both in the ring at the same time. They're going to be in a tag format. So it's going to be a challenge. I will say this, even though I can't seem to pronounce his name correctly, maybe it's the New Englander in me. There's certain sounds that just don't come out, but I've watched him wrestle for other promotions, and I was intrigued.
Also, Legursky is a veteran.
he's been around
And-
for quite some time. Yeah.
Yeah, and the two guys that he's taken on in this, I guess we could a handicap match.
Handicap match, yeah.
They're going to need every ounce of experience they have just to be able to keep the wrecking ball away from turning them into shredded paper. Quite frankly,
Absolutely.
and I don't mean to say anything bad about Sylvan or Lacroix because Rick and I know both of them quite well, and they're both great wrestlers. They do very well, but they just don't have those years behind them like WB has.
Absolutely. They are the underdogs. And I would say this, and my best guess is that if he gets them in the corner or if he gets them on the mat, we're going to be scraping them off.
All three
Yeah.
are shaking our
It's
heads.
gonna be like a pan.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like
You
a.
know,
They're gonna
So
be
again,
like a
so-
pancake. Yeah.
let's say the match doesn't go that long. If they, this is my vantage point as a commissioner. If they make it a few minutes, we know that they are future stars. If they make it a few minutes, because it's going to take a lot of heart and determination. And if they pull it out and they get the win, I wouldn't be surprised if the NWA would be calling them the next day. They are good sized people in their own right, but
Right.
I don't know of anybody that looks big next to Wrecking Ball.
No.
You know,
It's very
I know
few.
I'm a
very
good,
few.
I'm a good sized guy, but not when he's around.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy you're like, where did the sun go? And oddly enough, the first time I met Wrecking Ball, this is a true story, by the way, and maybe I shouldn't share it, but I'm going to share it anyway. First time I met him was on Vanguard Ranch. It was where I worked. He was coming to visit some of the animals that we have. We're open to people who want to come out. And so I didn't know who he was. I happened to be outside in the field and I see this big monster sized guy coming up and he doesn't necessarily look family friendly when you see him from a distance either. And so I remember, I remember casually coming up. How's it going? Yeah. Do you need anything? He goes, oh yeah, I'm just here to see the pigs. Like, oh, okay, no problem. You know where they are? He's like, yeah, I think they're over here. Yep. So talked to him for a few minutes. And he goes, he was in his street clothes, so it's like, he wasn't recognizable as Wrecking Ball. And he had a hat on, he had, it was a sweatshirt, jacket, whatever kind of thing. He had a few layers on. But I can see that he's this huge guy. And then, months later, I'm at an indie show or whatever, and I look over, and he does the same thing. He sees me, and I know you, and so I was like, yeah, you're the guy that likes the pigs, and he goes, yeah, you're the pig guy, you're the one that has the pigs, and then he's this was before a show, and then of course he goes into the backstage, and I'm in the audience, and I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe it's kind of scary, depending on how you look at it. Wrecking Ball kind of knows where I live. But nobody wants to mess with the commissioner because we have some power too.
Yeah, I mean that's a payday. That's a job that they'll lose. So, Otis, do you have any comments you want to make before we wrap things up?
No, not at all. I'm glad that we got to talk about the card. That was my main thing, and of course we mentioned the dates and everything. Is there anything that you'd like to say, Doc, about as far as if people wanted to follow Pure Vanguard Wrestling, or like
Give
what
the socials,
different what social platforms you're
Yes.
on and so forth?
So I think the easiest thing would be to go to Linktree, and it's PVW World. PVW World. We have a website that is not finished yet, and that's pvw.world. But I think right now Linktree would be the best, and on Facebook it's Pure Vanguard Wrestling. You'll see. I think there's a couple options, but there's one that's obvious that we want to use. We do a family friendly all ages show. I can't promise you that you'll never see blood. I can't promise you that you'll never see injuries, but we're not about blood and guts. We're about catch as catch can, mat based, go on the ring, go on the top rope when it makes sense to do. You could bring a newborn and you could bring somebody in their 90s, and there should be something to offer for them. We're proud of Pure Vanguard Wrestling and Vanguard Ranch and all the people that are going in there. I will say this, there should be a couple more surprises. We currently in one of our metal shops, in our metal shop, we are customizing a ring that should make its debut on the 22nd.
Oh, wow.
I should on the 12th.
Uh-oh.
Wow. Yeah. I've got something else in my mind. But on the 12th, you should see a ring. Unlike just about any ring that I've seen in New England, the color is going to be different. The setup's going to be different. The size is going to be different than most rings. It's bigger than most people. A lot of the indie people are using 16-foot rings. We use 18. Why? Because I believe my guys are the big guys, and I believe that they're the stars of tomorrow. And when they go on to the big pay-per-views and they go to the big paydays, they're going to be likely be in an 18-foot ring. So I use the power of the Vanguard Ranch to buy one. We're customizing it now. We're blessed to have some of the best fabricators around.
Awesome.
Wish I could take credit for it, but although I help out with fabrication, that we have a guy named Derek who's the real star behind the scenes.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. October 12th. It's the day after my birthday, by the way. So I'm planning on being there, destroying that whole weekend as my birthday weekend. I'm just telling you.
Destroying that weekend.
Destroying that weekend.
Well, I tell you what, you remind me at the show.
Okay.
And I will buy you a fried dough if you eat that kind of stuff.
Fried dough? All right, I'm there. Like, that's it.
We
I
should
will
have
definitely-
LJ's Pizza.
Yeah.
We should have fried dough, hot dogs, hopefully kettle corn, and some other stuff.
This
I
guy's
don't
going
know
all
exactly
out.
what.
Wow.
There's
This
that's-
guy's
that's
going all
possibility
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were.
I'm glad
We
you
were
kind of
blessed
brought
to
that
do-
up because, then people know that they don't have to pack in the food in their stomach before they leave.
Oh
They
yeah, we're
can
hoping
eat while
that
they're
you that you fill your gut there because we were able to negotiate. Now, how cool is this? We were able to negotiate the use of a friolator for the show. Now we
That's
can't have it
all right.
in. We can't have it in the room with the ring, but
Right.
outside in the atrium area where you wait to before we open the doors.
Yep.
That's where they're going to be selling the fried dough and all that other stuff. And that's because
Awesome.
it is a safety issue. You can't have
Right.
a friolator where people are going to wrestle.
Right.
Because
Right.
matches don't always stay in the ring. But
Mm.
yeah, and the boys club also will be selling soft drinks, cakes. I don't know about cakes, but cookies and little treats, whatever they normally sell in
Right.
their commissary. It was important to us to talk to them and say, tell us what you sell. We won't sell that.
Right.
Because we're about community here. And so the only downside is there's a possibility you might have to go to 2 different lines to get your stuff because, we want the boys club to make more money too. So we're not going to sell sodas and drinks because they are.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Well, Doc, I want to thank you for joining us here today. This was a blast talking to you. And, next time that you have another event coming down the road after this one, you're going to have to come back and talk a lot about that one as well.
Absolutely.
It was an honor. I will come anytime that you want to hear me talk. We'd love to tell you sometime about how we came up with the Vanguard name and a host of other things.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on today, and you have a wonderful day.